everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be playing Dimir Artifacts once again, and my kind of hyper focus or hyper fixation on this deck again has kind of come from the spoilers from Aether Drift. If you haven't seen those, definitely go check them out. But we basically get a birthing pod type effect for artifacts. Winter giving our artifacts ward and whatnot is a very, very good thing. And what we're trying to do is revolve our entire deck around Simulacrum Synthesizer. This card is very, very good. It is a devastating card if your opponent cannot remove it or counter it, and they're not necessarily that fast. Golgari and those mid-range decks are oftentimes our ideal matchups. Mono Black sometimes struggles to do it. They can obviously get under us a bit with like a unstoppable slasher right into an Aclazotz and things like that. It can definitely get there. But if they cannot answer it kind of the turn we play it down, then most likely it will end up closing out the game very quickly. And that kind of leads to our ideal hands here. Most likely what we're going to want is probably an Undercity Sewer or just like a Darkslick Shore. Kind of untap mana if we can. Oftentimes a 1 mana land can come in tapped. It's not necessarily that big of a deal. But we want 3 mana. We want kind of some hand disruption or removal, whether that is a Duress, go for the throat, and something like that. And then we oftentimes, if we can start with a Simulacrum Synthesizer in that opener, then we'll be very, very happy. Outside of that, we want to do Arcane Proxy shenanigans. One of the better reasons to play this, Snapcaster comes to mind when I think about Arcane Proxy more than anything, as it does have, whenever we cast it, it enters the battlefield equal to its power. We cast a instant or sorcery from our graveyard for free for that kind of mana value. Now, it does work with 3 steps ahead, but you do have to pay the spree cost with that. So it is a little bit like troublesome there, but outside of that, everything's good and dandy. But yeah, we just want to make a lot of constructs. We're playing a lot of control cards in terms of creature removal and disruption a little bit, and kind of 1 counter spell and 3 steps ahead, as it can kind of interact in a lot of different ways, where if we don't necessarily want to counter anything, we'll just make a copy of Synthesizer and make more constructs and go that route. So like I said, we're going to go ahead and dive right into the games and see how they go. If y'all enjoyed the content, consider subscribing. Helps out the channel a ton. And let's go game. Okay. I mean, twist my arm. 3 mana, Synthesizer, and removal. With the ideal mono-red matchup. Seems. Obviously, mono-red is never really, like, ideal, I guess. But typically, these leaves me in mono-red, but, you know. They like being sneaky about it. They're not mono red. They never have been. They never will be. But no more lives could be here. If it's not, we'll be so excited this resolves. And it does. Fantastic. No Duress. The Vault's fine. But both of these probably just go to the bottom, I think. Be like a Soul Partition. Or this could be the Reanimate deck. It's a Hottie Gen. And just a cut down alone is enough to remove that. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to play a Synthesizer. We're going to make a construct. And then we're going to cast a cut down and remove that dude. And then we're probably going to anoint it next turn. Whenever they reanimate it with the helping hand. Or if we do find a land, we can always Mightstone and Weakstone -5/-5. But at that point, you would have to think some amount of counterspell is available. At least you would think. Alright, there's 2. Well, land would have been huge because we would have went Anoint into Anoint. I can't really let them get away with it. Now, I could go Proxy Cut Down and then Anoint next turn, especially considering the fact that I will make 2 constructs here. So this seems better, because at the end of the day, like, sure, their Hottie Gens are going to be, like, kind of big, but our constructs are going to be much larger. So we get rid of the tapped one, and we give them the option to block here. Again, this is 6 damage coming across the board, and they take it. And now we'll have an Anoint for next turn. And if we hit 3 mana, we can then play a Thran Spider, which makes our constructs even larger. Okay, sure. Missed a land again. Is it combat time? I think so. Attack. There's going to be a spell being cast here. Sure. This is kind of okay. Like, obviously, we're a little upset our proxy will be gone. Do I anoint this, or do I resolve the Thran Spider? And I think I resolved the Thran Spider. Because Thran Spider fits here. Like, that's just 2 more constructs. And I guess I maybe missed out on lethal, but a Hadi Gem with 5 untapped mana and nothing really in the graveyard. You have to assume some amount of interaction is happening. The fact that we just stuck a synthesizer is why you have to often kind of be bold in best of 1 and just say, you know what? Screw it. You have it, and just slam the spell. Here comes the eyeball. Another land. And this is the thing, I mean, before they even get the choice, I think I just fire off this Anoint. Yeah, it just doesn't matter. I don't know if they drew a spell to interact. Maybe options matter. Maybe we just go for Mightstone, Weakstone anyway. Because if it's counter spell, then they can never beat 2 of these, right? So like, it would have to be 2 spells. So even if it's counter spell, bounce 1, block, block. They lose both their creatures, or block, block. Well, all 3 would have to block, and then they would still die the last one. Unless it is bounce spell, then they live, but they lose everything and have no cards in hand, and this 2/4 hits them, I guess. So yeah, we probably just go for Mightstone, Weakstone. There's probably no point to Anoint there, but we'll take the dub. Very cool. This is a tough hand if I've ever seen one. But like, such a good hand too. Especially if I find removal. I'm gonna try it. I'm not told that this hand's the best, but we'll see. Surveil land, Golgari land seems pretty decent. The rest good, but is also equally as good in the graveyard thanks to the proxies. We just want to hit lands here. Maybe a Duress or Deep Cavern Bat comes across the table. It does not. Let's put a Ghost Vacuum in. Nothing really to exile outside of our card, but we don't really want to do that. 3 mana hit. Here comes a Preacher. Okay. I guess this is where we're residing in this game. Will they cast a spell first, or will they just go for Preacher attack? That's what they go for, which is what they should do. And then just to get it out of the way, there's no way there's going to be like a graveyard reanimate super quick kind of thing, so we just get this out of the road. Don't really hold up any more pauses. Outside of Terra Sunder or Frillback, which we see immediately, funnily enough, little do they know, unless they're like a graveyard reanimator deck, they're going to want to have held this Frillback. So we finally hit a land. We have a Gopher to throw in there. But I think with this used, there's 1 or 2 options. It's either the card, I could just go for a Duress. I'm playing Synthesizer. We literally just had the same kind of situation last game where we're talking about how we need to be bold with our decision. And I think this is a good option. Using a Frillback here just to blow up this Ghost Vacuum. Maybe they won't have a second option. They go for Sentinel. Old Golgari, it seems. My experience with this matchup is that it's pretty favorable for us because they just can't beat constructs that easily. Now, whether that's what comes down and happens here is a little bit of a different story. You can go for 3 steps ahead, copy the Synthesizer, which feels pretty good. Then just a proxy makes like a monstrosity amount of constructs. A monstrous amount is what I was going for there, but I mean, I guess, right? We even get Scries here, so I'll pass. Even though we'll take maybe 6 damage, but idealistically, they'll never touch us again. And we might even get like a decent block here out of our opponent. Attack. I don't know what they'll exile. Probably the Gopher the Throat if I had to guess. But they do. Now we make a copy of this. Also enter. We'll get our little double scry on. Is cut down good enough? It is not. Land drop is like okay. Keep it there. Then we'll just absorb this Frillback. Got a little bit more damage than maybe we wanted to, but not the worst thing in the world. Then we will play tap land, we'll play a proxy, we'll make 2 constructs. Then we will duress our opponents. Seems like it's going to be probably, in most cases, good enough. Duress, the old-fashioned duress animation skip. Doesn't work. Go for the Throat's dead, so we just let Go for the Throat go. This card has 0 impact on our gameplay overall. So just like that, Gix command could have made us sacrifice one of these and blew up this, I guess. But we now have 2 5/5s, and obviously they're going to hope that that's kind of all we get throughout this games. We're going to play a Worldwalker Helm, make 2 more constructs, make 2 maps, and then we can activate the Worldwalker Helm on this synthesizer and then make more. Because again, this, it says if you were to create 1 or more artifact tokens, instead create map tokens plus, or create those tokens plus an additional map token. The way the synthesizers work is they happen 1 at a time. So 1 will resolve, make a construct. The Worldwalker Helm will see that, make a map. Then the second one will resolve, it'll make another map. So every time like a construct gets made, it's now 2 artifacts. Like Academy Manufacturer for people who play like Modern with that card, or combos and Commander with that card. It just gets out of hand very quickly. So we'll take that win and move on. Okay, our hand is set. We're probably fine with this. No synthesizer in this hand, which is obviously a little bit tough-ish. Okay, they timed out. They played land, tried passing, and then nothing happened. With red land, I'm just going to go for this into this. Like, they have a red land, I have a swamp and an island, so that allows us to play an Anoint. And they are here? Okay. We have an Anoint, and then we have an Anoint, so we're fine. We can just remove both of these. Then maybe our opponent will do the tap out thing immediately. I would assume that they got up, thought they passed their turn, and then Burst Lightning was there. But like, Burst Lightning would still hold the priority the whole time. You know what I mean? We wait, instead of anointing this, we will anoint the Screaming Nemesis while they're kind of tapped out, and also Nemesis. Even though this gets double strike, Nemesis actually ends up doing more damage overall. So we just get rid of it. Also, there's a chance like I just play a Braided Net and just tap this thing repeatedly for a couple of turns and then let them handle that information as it will be. I could play a proxy. I could hold up a counter spell. I could just anoint this anyway. Maybe counter spells to play. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to pass though. One of the things where like proxy is pretty good, but if we can use our Anoint with Affliction to take over their entire turn, then we will. One of the main things we have to watch out for is obviously like 3 damage removal spells, which are nothing really, but also like Witchstalker Frenzy might be a card that they get stuck with in hand. So if they start playing their turns really awkwardly, most likely that's the case. No extra backup creature here means we're going to play the Surveillance. Synthesizer on top, fantastic. Play a Braided Net, protect ourselves. Play land, play Synthesizer, protect ourselves again with the Braided Net. And then we'll go into like our Arcane Proxy plans or 3-step ahead plans. This can obviously give them value. We'll tap it and go for like the village and just maybe draw a card-ish here. As long as we have this Braided Net, we should feel pretty comfortable. Ooh, really good draw, followed by like bad execution. Not on their part, like that was a bad play or anything. It just happens to shake out that way sometimes. The second Synthesizer is pretty much unbeatable. The only way we lose is they put a Screaming Nemesis in play that we can no longer remove. And then they're able to like block somehow, which we don't hit them for lethal on that swing, which is weird. I can't imagine a scenario where we would do that, but who knows. With that said, I mean, right in the Diamond 1, 3 in a row. We'll move on. Our opponent goes first, and our hand is awful. Okay, then. I guess we move on. I thought the last hand was bad. What about two of the only like 6-mana spells we play and a blast zone to back it up. Sure. Yeah, we'll maul. We'll probably just pitch a land here. We'll go for the swamp. We'll play a surveillance land and we'll call it a day. Second Arcane Proxy can go in the bin. Not really looking to sit on those. Would rather, even in this situation, I'd much rather even find lands. We'll go for an Anoint with Affliction. If it's aggro, obviously, kind of our only play as of right now. Okay. Sure. Get blue-white. Don't know what that means. Could be control. Could not be control. Could be a hottie gen, I guess. No, it's Omniscience combo. Okay, we kind of already lost, so that's pretty sick. As much as that sucks. The Duress is no interaction. Braided Net's just not gonna get it done, I guess. Attack, I suppose. They'll bring it back and we'll try to anoint it. Most likely we're just losing this game. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes they just keep a hand, they chart a course, they put an Omniscience in, and they combo kill you. And you're just like, okay. Well, that was a good, fun game. They'll probably bring it, and then they'll probably have Counterspell. Watch, they're going to have everything. You ready? Oh, wait, this is also 7 mana. I can't even anoint it. It's not a thing. Yeah. Right? This is a token. Yeah, exile target creature with mana value 3 less. Yeah, so we can technically target it. It just doesn't resolve. That's going on a stack. I just don't care to sit here. Yeah, I mean, it's just literally everything they ever want. They cast one spell, put Omniscience in the graveyard, had the reanimate spell, and then just also happened to have the invasion. A 4-card combo they had in their opener along with the mana to do it. Very cool. Here we are. Fatal Passage cracked. Like a pause there for a second, so I thought our opponent was going to time out right away, and I was like, they didn't end up doing that, so we're good. Blue-white combo again. Okay. Put an Omniscience in there. It's fine. Oh, they didn't put an Omniscience in there. Very cool. But they got the other combo piece. Might as well use our mana while we can. We even do play some amount of graveyard effects, but it's just not going to seem very likely here. Duress. The counterspell doesn't matter. There's 2 invasions, so it's kind of whatever. I guess, honestly, it's just a counterspell. So we can always hold up to go for a third as long as they don't have counterspell. But realistically, this Charted Course is going to be good. This would technically look deeper than a Charted Course will. And if it hits bad, then they still have to discard a card. So it's not like the best in the world. But maybe we'll find our graveyard hate piece soon enough. Doesn't seem that way. The rest comes off the top. There's nothing in there. And this is where like not finding a synthesizer in time is going to hurt a lot. Because we're just not going to be able to interact well enough. But we'll wait and we'll hold up to Duress from the following turn. Like this synthesizer, I feel way more confident in our matchup. But not the way things shake out sometimes. There wasn't an Omniscience in there, right? Yeah, I didn't think so. Van come in. As well play our tap land. Another copy of Duress. So I feel confident enough to fire off of Duress now. Even something like an Arcane Proxy would even feel a little bit better here. Huh? We're looking at the top 4. Yeah. 3 lands and a mystery card. Sure. Of course, we take this. Just get to play a land and then go find another copy. No. We play land. I mean, I guess I could Duress, but I don't even think it does anything. I'd much rather discard Duress here to find a land, maybe. Sure. Yeah, like I don't think we can just beat this regardless. Just cast in response. I'll probably take land, just hard cast one of these, maybe. Sure. Motor Truce is also pretty brutal. We're having the really polar opposite game here, huh? Where our opponent found it instantaneously and then just won immediately. This opponent's halfway through their deck. That's the thing. Like, sometimes you can just get high rolled by this deck multiple times in a row and you're just like, dude, nothing matters. Or you get weird things like this where, like, hey, actually, by the way, just looking at one. I got nothing else to know. Sure. Just do a cycle and then we'll just put this in play. Don't typically play a ton of counter spells outside of Confounding Riddle. There's 2 in the bin and they're halfway through, so like a 50-50 shot whether they have it. They do. That sucks. That's actually pretty awful for us. The fact that that also doesn't say it can't be countered is, like, obviously kind of tough. It'd be great if it did. We're going to see a season here, most likely, and they're going to look to draw a ton of cards and then win that way. Or they just go pull this out of their deck. Tapped out, correct. You could still do this for 3. Be no, like, pause or hesitation here. Rest them again. Invasion, 2 of these pick lock. We obviously put a Abuelo in the graveyard. That's 2 copies. Obviously they get way more copies with the invasions coming around. But we'll see what happens. Block gets fired off here. There's an Omniscience. Very cool. But the thing is, as long as this goes this way and the counterspell isn't necessarily there, the 3 riddles are already in the graveyard, so as long as we can interact anytime they put it on the stack, we get there. We're 15 cards, kind of looking for a synthesizer pretty handily. What we need pretty badly, I guess. Not handedly. That's the wrong word. I'm going to deck thin a bit. I'm going to blow up their active land. Last zone is there. It exists. Sure. Thing about bouncing this proxy to surveil is, like, I just replay it and get to kind of, you know, do the thing. Attack. See, no bounce there. That makes total sense to me. Play a synthesizer. We'll do a double scry here. Playing this for Duress. Playing this also works, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold up 2 blue. And then I can go for this and have a Duress ready to go. Or I can just do it this way and always hold up my go for the throat while Duressing my opponent throughout this turn cycle, which seems fine with me. We can always craft with, like, the kind of cool card in here. Bad part is, if that card would have resolved, I mean, we have just hit pretty good spells overall. Obviously, we Demolition Field something, so it's a little bit worse, but we'll see. There's Archaeologist. Now they're looking for maybe the last riddle, which they find, unfortunately. Another tap land. The Duress is going to have to come in and hit the Confounding Riddle. Sure. Unless, obviously, there's another Awakening in there. 19 cards left. Let's resolve. The last counterspell they play, I could technically pay for it. So should I? The answer, I believe, is yes. 'Cause I'd almost bet they have an Abuelo in. But does this matter as long as I remove the Omniscience? No, because I can always grab this back and then the cycle begins. I'm going to go for the rest here. Like, also I make a construct and try to close the game is like the other argument. Nothing, nothing, nothing. If they rip it off the top, so be it. Our game is decided. I will take the Charter Course. They rip it off the top. The game is over. I know it's a pretty high chance. I think there's 2 left in the deck. All right. Now it's pretty much a guarantee, I would imagine. They don't snap the decision off. But do you have it? A land would have just been a dud. Okay. We get another chance here. And do remember now the big difference is that our Go for the Throat is good. The problem is for them that 1, 2, 3, 4. All riddles are in the graveyard. So, obviously, big problem there. We play Mightstone, Weakstone. We hold up 2 mana. Comes in. Braided Net can constantly just tap down the Archaeologist, so there's not really a reason to worry about it there. So I'd much rather take a draw 2 here. Sure, this construct might get bounced, but that's okay. And now we have a double removal spell for it. Kind of. 4, 1, 2. I guess it would come back with 3, so cut down can't necessarily answer it too well. But, I mean, here, no one's going to tap this. We're going to hopefully make a connection here. Obviously, they're probably going to bounce our 7/7 because, you know, that totally makes sense. And we'll see what's there. I mean, we've gotten pretty fortunate this game following an immediately, like, super high rolled 1 game. Kind of our opponent's low rolling this game, it seems. Take a bit of damage. We hold the line. And this is hopefully everything we asked for. Mightstone tapped. And maybe another spell. Moment of Truth. Everything's coming together. So now, the best part about this situation is that the cut down works. Surprisingly enough, they haven't just played a second invasion to grab it out of the graveyard, which is mind-blowing. I feel like that's the way to go. I think they're focused a little bit too much trying to find it naturally a bit, instead of just being like, you know what if I just played one of these, you know? All right, sure. We'll pass here. There's a Blast Zone of our own. 2 mana could do it. I can also look for a better option here. Blast Zone doesn't matter that much. Proxy's pretty good. 3 steps is a counter spell, so we can now counter and copy. So yeah, we just take the 3 steps ahead. I move to my allotted amount of time in combat. And we attack. Thing, like, I know we can beat this matchup. It's just whether or not we actually do or not. It's a little bit different. 9 cards left in that graveyard. That library and that graveyard. The graveyard looks way more than 40 cards, by the way. This is like the person that triple sleeves their deck and you're like, why did you do this to yourself? For all the people that triple sleeve their deck, you know, I'm still proud of you. Stop, though, you know? I'm just kidding. Hey. Well, in the bottom 6, there were 2 copies. And now I think it's the game's not even close, of course. Counter copy coming up. For copy. Now we have 2 massive creatures coming in, 2 lands to the bottom there. We don't want any more of those if we can help it. And then now with that find is pretty good. Play here. I would say I don't know what you have in store for me that wins this game, but alrighty here. This hand's gonna either be very good, kind of any Duress game hand, right? It's like Duress is either gonna be very good or very, very bad. And it seems like we have our work cut out for us here. This matchup's like fine. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not the best either. Deep Cavern Bat coming in, most likely 3 steps ahead, getting taken. This is one of the major things that, like, if we were on to play, the big difference is like Thran Spider means that Deep Cavern Bat can never attack us, and we get to play it before an attack can happen here. So our opponent's able to play an Amalia and then attack us with Deep Cavern Bat before our Thran Spider is able to come in and block, which is a little tough. But it's either Duress or 3 steps ahead. If they, I'm sure, I guess. Well, that's a little tough. We're obviously going to play that land down, so now they know our whole hand. They knew what we drew. But a Blast Zone pumped up to 2 next turn might also be the play. That gives us our Duress back the turn that they would get to look, right? Do I go for Thran Spider instead? Little part of me thinks that's the answer. An artifact, go for throw, can't do much. They get a useless Power Stone token, at least as I'm aware of in their deck. I believe it does nothing. There's a little life gainer here. The Amalia will get kind of ticked up a bit. Now, the thing with the Amalia in this matchup in general is like, we can outgrow Amalia pretty easily. Yeah, dude, sure. I'll take the free trade. I understand you have like raised pass and stuff, but I feel like a Duress going into my hand's not where you really want to be ideally. Sure, this grows, but I don't know what that does for the home team. Duress. There's a dew point. Sure. One of the reasons why trading didn't make a ton of sense to me. And then do I go for second Thran Spider, or do I hold up 3 steps and a Blast Zone activation? I think that's the route. Because it is a clean answer to Amalia, where we just put it on 2 and then we just pop it next turn, and then I think hold up counterspell. No, that's fine. Even more of a reason for us to kind of do this activation here. Make sure they take my 3 steps, but we have a second one, and we know their hand barring like Amalia draws, so hopefully they keep like a bad card on top or kind of lands or something. They take a Thran Spider. They learn the hard way that Deep Cavern Bat does not beat Thran Spider. This is one of the matchups outside of Deep Cavern Bat, which we've already seen 3 of. Nothing really stops us here. I'm putting this on 2. Okay, 1 in the X. Now, again, the Power Stone finding a lot of value. It's one of the reasons why I thought about Thran Spider, but it just didn't work mana-wise. Now they hit a land, so this next card's random. Obviously, I'll take out the free life gainer. We'll take a bit of damage here, which is tough. There's a Synthesizer. Wow, we golly gee willikers, huh? We're short, right? This requires 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then 2 mana. It's tough, but we know their hand for the most part. It's one of the things about using the Duress was kind of bad, I guess, on our part. Do I play Synthesizer and go for 3 steps here? Maybe. Because then if I find a land here, like, sure, this Amalia puts us down pretty bad, but go for the third's also not even an awful option. Both of these options are fine. Especially because I'll get my creature back. Yeah, we'll just do this. And then now I have my counterspell held up. Or even in some situation with both of these, I'm able to just copy the Synthesizer, right? They find a 4th Deep Cavern Bat, then so be it, dude. I don't know. Does this pull directly from there? Return target. Oh, it's any option. Okay. Sure. Sure. We're going to go for it. Okay. So use this as a draw too? We know their hand. They'll gain 1 here, and this also loses to our Blast Zone, so we're fine with that. We want to hold this counterspell. This might have to be a situation, although it sucks to lose our Thran Spider on a board in which we'll have the answer. I think I have to block, pop Blast Zone, and then hold counterspell. The main issue that they're going to run into is, like, we have 2 counterspells. I think keeping our life total slightly high is going to help us in the long run. Especially on the fact that, like, in a turn or 2, our game plan becomes much different. Now we pass. This Blast Zone's primed and ready to go, of course. You have to make sure that this is activated. We're What do they bring back? It has to be a 1-mana creature, right? No, they go for Deep Cavern Bat? I don't know if I agree. We're gonna teach them the hard way about how Blast Zone works. Warhound, sure. No ETB life gainer in sight, so that's fine with me. They want to get this kind of surveil action going. We won't know the card. Just like this, we find pretty solid value, if I have to say so myself, in a Blast Zone. You don't get this very often. But we'll board wipe 5 creatures, get our Thran Spider back. And just like that, we also have a counter spell. So even if a Deep Cavern Bat comes in here, like, we get the option to just allow it to happen, allow it to not happen. They're going to go for a hold here on Deep Cavern Bat so they can try to play it and then reanimate some stuff. So I just don't know if that'll ever work here. And I think my plan is just hold up counterspell. If they go to instep, do nothing, just make a copy of the synthesizer. They go for Deep Cavern Bat, revealing they have nothing. Sure. I guess it doesn't matter what they take here. I just want them to decide on their dog here first. Then our scry off the synthesizer entering matter, leaving the spell. Okay. Not sure about that one, Chief. Maybe they're going to try to win this the hard way. I just beat down, which can happen. Yours off deck's a little bit better at that. But now we get to copy the synthesizer. Maybe a play they're not entirely familiar with or ready for. Agatha's Soul Cauldron's an interesting card here. I can just start eating like problematic cards out of the graveyard and then just growing my construct, I guess, which is kind of funny. So I'll keep it. Tap here, play here. Then just, I don't know, swing for 5. Swing for the fences if you want. Yes. I'm saying Agatha's Soul Cauldron's the best pickup of all time, but it is a way to start interacting. That's one of the reasons I thought about playing Soul Guide Lantern for cases like this, where I could just play it, then exile their entire graveyard. I don't have to do it like a hard way, I guess to say. If I care about this, it gains life and matters, but won't just a second synthesizer beat this? I didn't have the mana to counter and copy, so that's why we didn't play for that. Yeah, I mean, I think a second synthesizer just wins. Maybe keeping the Agatha Soul Cauldron on top was a little too greedy. We'll see what they do here. Like, the copy's also tough, right? Because I don't really want to lose to that. Get rid of this. We grow our construct. Now it has that ability. Do I do this or not? Is it worth it or not? Okay, you have, what, 1 life gainer in there? Wow, you only have 1 life gainer in your graveyard? Okay. We are. We're in there. To make a massive board state that they have to block. Oh, wait. Yo, hey. Hey, yo, hey, wait. Hold up. They just lose off that. Okay, fantastic. So now we go for the throat, hit him for lethal. Super sweet. Super simple. Better pizza. Shaquille O'Neal. Oh, Jack is a crazy human being, by the way. Just so huge. Have you seen him standing next to Simone Biles? Is that... Bro, wait, their name's Evil Clown. I didn't even realize. But yeah, I mean, a nice cool win. I would assume Raise the Past was on top, which is unfortunate. That's why we had to kind of make the hard call to make a copy here. And the thing is this is the only creature that has to block. It just blocks here, and then they can win technically by blocking with, like, they could even block with Deep Cavern Bat if they want to save a ton of life, especially if they have ways to bring everything back. But the only problem for them is, like, well, the problem is for us that they'll have a lot of time bought. But will they? Because Hinterland Sanctificer, if we just exile it, they get a couple of draws, which is obviously very good. And those draws would have to win them the game. But outside of that, I think, like, playing a Thran Spider is a little too good for there, right? Because then I just make 2 more. And so what if they reanimate those back and put a big board out? Like, you have to beat me still, right? Like, I can just swing in and find lethal that way, but we win, we move on. Very cool. Okie dokie. So here we are. This is kind of where I settled. I like Agatha's Soul Cauldron, but I think that last matchup, more than anything, told me to play just a Soul Guide Lantern. I think the waiting sometimes is going to be devastating, or finding the card late, and only playing 1 copy is, like, the issue, right? And Agatha's Soul Cauldron, the reason I end up playing this one over, like, a 2nd copy of this is because realistically at 6 mana activating this is good, but having 2 of these is not, like, the greatest. But with an Agatha's Soul Cauldron, we can kind of grow, like, a Thran Spider into a big threat. We can kind of grow a Arcane Proxy into a big threat. And if our opponent puts something in the graveyard with a cool activated ability, then we just get to take that, right? So it's kind of like a small upside. I'm at 61, by the way, because of Soul Guide Lantern. But in that last match against that deck and how popular that deck has kind of become, I do to some extent think we cut this. And the reason why we cut that over the Ghost Vacuum after we kind of just made that claim is that Ghost Vacuum gets around Duress oftentimes, where we get to play it on turn 1 if we're on the play and have it in our opener, where the Cauldron doesn't quite necessarily get there. And oftentimes seeing a Cauldron in a deck, even if our opponent didn't want to take this, most likely they'll take the Cauldron, which is upside, but we won't know if they're actually reanimated or not. That's a little bit of downside as well. But in that last game, if we just had this, we just play it, we exile their entire graveyard, and then nothing matters with its kind of sacrifice this, exile each opponent's graveyard, or we can even use it as a draw spell, so even when these cards are dead, like, we can still get value off the Soul Guide Lantern. So I think I would cut this. I'll just set it in the sideboard so, you know, I remember to talk about it a bit. But on the to what else is great, I personally just love Synthesizer a ton. I think it's one of the more fun cards to play with if I want to play a creature beatdown deck that is also generated by something else, because then we don't have to play a ton of creatures that muddy up our deck in a deck like this. I mean, if you look, our creature count, like, our physical creature count is 7. Not a lot, whereas, like, in Golgari, for example, this number goes up to, like, 20-ish, maybe more. Whereas if we just have a Synthesizer, we can just play it, and then our creature count is what? Adding these 7, 8, 9, 10, the other 3 copies of this for 13, 16, 17, 18, plus these 3 steps ahead. And now if we have 2 of these in play, somehow it goes up significantly every single time, because now, like, it makes 2 creatures right away. And it doesn't necessarily take much to get to constructs to, like, a lethal amount. So I kind of lowered the amount of artifacts overall that I had been playing in the past, where kind of in blue-white, when I was playing that version, like, everything was an artifact. All of them was. Now, obviously, one of the good sides to that was the kind of artifact. There's one artifact in white that really makes us want to play it, and that is Fabrication Foundry. This card's super sweet because it does tap add mana for artifacts. It's a 2-drop, which is great. Also, the fact that this card's good, but the Fling deck stopped being so popular, so this deck's not as good. But this card is incredible. Has like a reanimate side to it with 3 mana. So it kind of misses out on that. But again, we've talked about how our deck is pivoting a bit more for rotation based, with like winter coming out, all the vehicles, the birthing pod of artifacts is coming out. So I'm super excited, because if you don't know what birthing pod is, like, it's very good. But outside of that, this is it. I like it a lot. This is what I played. I think it's very good. I enjoy it. Maybe add another blast zone, maybe don't. Maybe add another demo field, maybe don't. land wise. Other than that, I don't have a lot more recommendations. It's gone incredibly well. I guess I could pull up our record for all. Yeah, we are 13-6. We are winning twice the amount we are losing, so that's pretty good. About 70-ish% win rate. It's 68 to be exact. And today, I think the only deck we lost to was getting high rolled by the combo deck and control. And one of the times against control, I just conceded because, to be quite honest, I didn't want to play it. But here's a fun statistic for you. We won 83% of our games on the draw, and we lost 33% of the games we were on the play. And I think in one of the matchups you can see, maybe I cut it. I think I had against blue-white control, I duressed them with 3 No More Lies, and I had 2 cut downs and an Anoint with Affliction in my hand, and they just played a Jace, and I was like, okay, yeah, you win. I have all removal for the aggro-based meta that we're in, but control is going to do that sometimes. It's going to be our weak point. The combo deck's also going to be our weak point. That's why we do play some of these to help us a little bit, but they're not too devastating that we just lose because we have them in our deck. So, yeah, I'm going to call it there. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.